though. I'll have to do it manually. It's alright, I'll do it manually. The wrong thingy, the wrong screen up. At least I realise now, rather than the start. Full grid as well. Nice.
Lovely.
And he's pedal to the metal, go, go, go!
That start, good luck. Hello everybody, welcome along to season 33 PSGL PSF1, and this is round number 3. We were at Singapore last week. We head back to Europe this week in the Castellet Circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix, and if F2 is anything to go by with their weather, I think we could have the same here tonight. My name is Jess Paul, and joining me as per usual, we've got Aidan Carter. Aidan, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Jess. Yeah, we're excited to get going once again for the next round of the championship. This championship is already kind of flying by at the moment, isn't it? We're already on round 3, and yeah, another very different track to what we've had so far. It's been a bit of an up and down start to the season, but we've somehow had the same weather in both of the first 2 rounds. So hopefully Le Castellet can provide something maybe a little bit different tonight.
Yes, first used in Formula 1 back in 1971. It's mainly used as a testing circuit. It does have a mixture of high, medium and low speed corners as well, and a lot of runoff areas as well for people to get confused at as well. This track also has that chicane at turn 8, which the endurance series don't use, but we tend to use for some weird reason. But there we go. Those are some characteristics that to bear in mind for the track. But we may as well talk about the standings. And as Aidan was alluding to just now, Max has been the only driver to win 2 races, but he got the pole and he got the win as well. He pretty much got the hat-trick of brilliant results here last week. He was absolutely dominant. And last week also we saw Marlon take his best result. He got a P2 after being last on lap 1. And there was a safety car. He decided to pit onto the hardcore Bala tyres to the end. We didn't think he could do it. He did it, and luckily his result didn't get taken away from him, because good news everybody, we got no Shoes reports last week, so everyone gets to keep their result. And Marlon had his best result, and he's now sitting 5th in the championship. That's great to see results like that coming to the fore. We could see something like that today.
Yeah, we definitely could. We could see some interesting results tonight. Le Castellet is a difficult circuit. We see a lot of penalties. There's a lot of corners on this track that you can spin at, so it's quite a difficult circuit to master. And we saw Singapore last time out is a difficult circuit to master, and we saw a little bit of a different result. So yeah, we could definitely see something again tonight. And I think for Marlon, it was a really, really strong result, wasn't it? Obviously, a little bit of strategy played into it at the end of the race with some safety car inclusion in that race, but either way, it's a real Romero boost. He really struggled in the opening round in Spain, but in Singapore was much more on the form that we expected Marlon. So yeah, it was a really, really strong result last time out for the Red Bull driver.
Yes, Aurelian didn't have a strong result last time out. He got a podium in Spain, but he only got 5 points last week, and he was one of the drivers who we felt needed to pick up the pace a little bit as well. Nando got his best result of the season as well. He's currently in third in the championship on 15 points, joint with Aurelian, and I believe they got the same amount of results as well. So I think they're the same on countback. I don't know how it would work if they got the same results at the end of the season, but that's the first time I've seen that in a while as well. Nando would have got second place if it wasn't for that spin, so there we go. Marcados sits there in fourth. He got a DNF last time out, so didn't capitalise on his P2 from Spain. Then we got Ascombe, obviously, that left. He's currently still sitting in 6th position. Stefano on 8 points in 7th. Then we got Namaya in 8th place. Fabi in 9th place. And we got Frankie, Cadiddle, Tom, Deso, Fuller Congan, Jensen, Stefano, Louis, which we'll touch on in a minute. And then we got Rowan, Harry, Kian, and Rig. Due to Louis missing too many races without prior notice, he has been kicked from the league, and replacing him in the Alpine is F4 champion, who has been here pretty much since the start of the season, Hiron. So good to have him back. Pretty much already got one reserve left now, and that's Roby, and he's not here tonight. But that means for the first time this season, Aiden, we got a full grid of full-time drivers racing here tonight.
Yeah, lovely to see, isn't it? Nice to get a full grid to start off round 3. And yeah, for your own, it's a good opportunity, of course. He's jumped up quite a staggering amount, of course, from, I believe, F4 last season, if I'm not mistaken, all the way to F1.
F4 champion.
Exactly, yeah. So big jump for your own into F1 this season. And it was a solid debut last time out for him in Singapore, obviously reserving last time out in the Alpine. He qualified decently well, kind of mid-pack. He was running mid-pack for the majority of the race. Unfortunately, he did go for the wrong strategy under the safety car, and that cost him big time at the end of the race, unfortunately. But it was still a solid debut, so he's got the pace, and knowing your own as well, I know him quite well. I know he's very strong at this track, and this is a track he does enjoy. So I think we'll definitely see a bit more of your own, and he'll definitely be a story to watch for the rest of the season to see how he progresses in F1.
Yes, he said it was a bad track for him. He was so close to points, but he felt like the strategy let him down. But he says he likes this track. He has decent pace around there, and he's hoping to score some decent points. So those are your standings, by the way. We may as well go into qualifying. Well, if you still saw what it was like in F2, you saw it was wet in the race. Well, we got a completely different story in F1. In qualifying, it's completely wet here as well, and everyone has just started on their runs at the moment as we're riding on board with her own. Now, this is a very hard track to do in the wet. It is so difficult, so many understeering moments around this circuit, so many changes as well since the very start, and it was in date back to 1976 where it varied between the short and the long layout. It returned in Formula 1 back in 2018, and the pit lane was changed as well, and stuff like that. And Le Castellet is after the village is located in. So there we go. So we've got a few lap times on the board already. We've got Namaya with a 140.0. Bearing in mind, a few people will be on a few laps on these inters because they don't have the most grip at the start of their run, so they can do more than one run if they wanted to. I strongly suggest with Fabi selecting the softs, it's going to get drier later on, but we will obviously have to wait and see. Jerome's in Vade, so we can't follow him. Who should we follow? Marcados as he goes towards turn 12 on the set of the intermediate tyres, while the Conga now goes fastest. First man into the 1:39.866. Here he is then, the man who wants to redeem himself after last week. Could have done better. He was involved in a few incidents. He was lucky he didn't get reported after last week. This is a very long straight to the start-finish straight. Sometimes I get confused when they come across the line, but Marcados up to the line. A 1:39.8 track is definitely getting faster. We've got a few more people up to the line. We'll see what they can do.
Yeah, and this is, of course, with it being a wet qualifying as well. You're going to see a lot of drivers out with 4 or 5 laps worth of fuel in the car just to keep the car going and build momentum and get used to the conditions. And then if it does dry out at the end, which it's looking likely it will do, then they'll jump onto the softs at the end of the session. So we're definitely going to see that kind of the continuous movement on the track instead of people coming in for going out for one run and then coming straight back into the pits again. So that's going to be obviously another thing to follow for us in this session as well. I'm just looking to see who's on a lap at the moment, who's coming towards the end of a lap. I can't quite see anybody on a fast of a lap of a moment. I think Jensen's coming towards the end of a lap, potentially in the Ferrari. He's just coming up to the final corner now. He'll round the final corner. This track, of course, noticeably very hard on tyres as Namaya now goes to the fastest time of the session so far. This track is notoriously hard on tyres. So many long corners on the circuit. Jensen goes P5. Max, our championship leader, goes into P2. But because it's so hard on tyres, this track, the long corners make it so hard on tyres that actually, even in these conditions, even the intermediates are ones that could struggle with these conditions. They could come very hot. So you've got to, sometimes in qualifying especially, you've got to try and sacrifice potentially a little bit of time in the opening sector to make sure your tyres can last for the rest of the lap at the end where the long corners come into play. And then, of course, in race trim, with the heavy fuel, it's very hard on tyres. Again, overheating can be a problem, especially on the medium compound tyres. So that's going to be another story I think we're going to see a lot tonight, is people struggling with tyres, and it's definitely going to be a story we're going to have to follow for the rest of this session, as just seeing more drivers come across their lines on their next runs. That's the one problem with qualifying on the intermediates like this. You can't see who's on an out lap and who's on a push lap, because everybody's doing pretty much laps one after the other, as Marcos has now gone to the time on a 39.3, and it looks like it's officially stopped raining. So there's no rain coming down. Track is still wet, but it's already looking like it's going to start to dry out.
That is going to be interesting. So I wonder if they're going to get in some fast laps straight away. We were in the 129s in F2. Don't think we could reach that in F1, but you never know. We did see tracks dry up in many tiers in the past around France. Interesting fact about Paul Ricard, by the way, in PSGL. Last time we were here, season 30 on the F1 2021 game. So that shows how long that Paul Ricard hasn't raced it. We avoided it like the plague on F1 22, but obviously we had to run it because we have to run every single track that is on the F1 game at PSGL. So this is the first time people had a chance to do it. And the last time we were here in F1, Matthew Alder took the race victory there, but he's now racing on the PC now, and that was the season where he won the F1 championship as well. It is many F1 titles at PSGL itself. So yeah, and I'm looking back at F2 because that's where some of our drivers were. Tom, who's currently sitting P2 at the moment, he won in our France. I actually commentated on that. I think it was changeable conditions there as well, and he did very, very well. That was the season he won his F2 championship. So many of the races I've commentated on, the one who's won France, one wins the titles I commentate on, which is quite a coincidence. It may not happen, I don't know, but yeah, we'll see what these drivers could do towards pretty much the crossover point at the moment. Will people just stay in the pits till it gets dry, or will people get a feel for the rain?
Yes, I think it'll be interesting to see. We're going to have to take what you just said about all the different winners now as a precursor for the rest of the season to see. So who wins tonight? We're going to have to put money on them winning the title.
Yes.
I remember that. I remember that Matthew Order race in season 30 as well. Desso's now just gone fastest on a 39 flat, and now Nando's into the 38. So the track is really ramping up now as it dries out. Stefano now just a 38.5. So we're nearly into the 37s already. But yeah, as I was saying, I remember commentating over that race with Matthew Order winning that race. I remember that race vividly because that was a changeable conditions race as well. And I remember Matthew Order crossing the line, winning the race with a puncture. It was definitely a very interesting race, that Paul Ricard race on F1 2021. And I think Paul Ricard gets a bad rap, doesn't it, in terms of racing? In modern F1, of course, Paul Ricard, I believe, is not on the calendar this season, if I remember correctly, for Formula One. So I don't think we're heading to Paul Ricard this season in real life, which is a bit of a shame. I think Paul Ricard gets a bad rap. It's always known as a track that's bad for racing, but the 2022 race was good. I think the 2021 race was good as well. And even in the races that maybe weren't as great previously, the fights in the midfield have always been great around Paul Ricard, and it's always a lot easier to overtake here than people say it is. So I think Paul Ricard gets a bad rap, I think simply because of the design of the circuit and what it looks like. So it's always been a good track for racing, league racing and real life racing. It's definitely an interesting one, and I hope it stays around in future. I think Paul Ricard is a good circuit that provides a lot of entertainment as Fabi now goes to the top of the time sheets. Interestingly, on a fresh set of intermediate tyres, so he's gone back out on a fresh set of inters, and you can see some people are just sat in the pits waiting for the dry conditions. If I were any of these drivers, I would still be out there on the intermediate tyres, because just because it stopped raining, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to get to slick tyre conditions. It could stay like this for the rest of the session, you never get onto the slick. So you want to be out there setting lap times, trying to be at the front of the field and seeing if you can get the best of the conditions, just in case it doesn't go to fully slick tyres.
Yeah, I would as well, because I've been in that situation where I was qualifying in France. I think, it was going to dry up. It never did, so it stayed on inters. So I had to make the call, dries or inters, and inters was the best call. And the ones who stayed in the pits hoping it was going to be dry, they probably regretted it as well. So ones who are higher up in the standings at the moment on these set of intermediate tyres, they feel very comfortable right now, but the track is going to get quicker and quicker by the minute, so they can't afford to become complacent. The sun is trying to peek out a little bit as well. Now, we did have a question in the chat on what people's mindset going into this race. I did ask that question to the drivers earlier on. And I asked this question at the beginning of the season, what's their worst track? And for most people, their worst track is France. So, yes, that doesn't give them hope going into this as well. Marlon even said it was not his favourite track, but he just wants a good result as possible. As Walla Kongan, who's got some vans in the chat, is currently sitting fastest with a 1:37.7, but take that with a pinch of salt. We got a Williams driver up to the line, I believe. No, that's not Namai, that's his teammate of Harry. He comes across the line in P2. He is another driver that wants to do well. Namaya then, who has been very, very consistent this season. Can he get himself up to the top and beat Volakonga? The answer to that is... yes, he can, by just under 10, so it is getting very, very, very quick as well. Jensen said that he would have wanted more running before the race, but you'll see if he'll have okay pace. Fabi's feeling very comfortable around France. He's praying for a top 5 finish like we saw at the start of last season. It's an interesting character, Fabi, isn't it? There's been some strong results recently with 2 points in Spain and 4 points in Singapore, but it was not as strong as what we saw at the beginning of last season as well. Maybe he's just ready to pick up points there and there, but I want to see the Silverstone in him, the Minister of Defence if I was him, the one who can defend loads and score well for his team. He is teaming up with Marcados, so yeah, I want to see Fabi do well in that respect because he thinks it's a good track as well. Frankie hates France, but he's hoping for some good points. Majority of people I've spoken to, according to their expectations, are hoping for points.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of the main aim, is it? Especially if you don't like a track, I think it's just safe to try and think you can get points. And if everybody doesn't like the track, then you're pretty much on a level playing field, so
yes.
It doesn't really matter if you don't like the track. By the way, I'm just looking at the track conditions. It's getting very close, if not bang on slick conditions here. So we've seen a lot of people who were out on the intermediate tyres have bailed on their laps and come into the pit lane so that they have enough time to get out on the slick compound tyres. So this is going to be, I think, a dash at the end of qualifying. Everybody's going to get one go on the soft compound tyres, and whoever can do the best, it's basically going to be a one-shot qualifying session in slightly damp conditions. So this could be a very intriguing and hectic end to the qualifying session, and it could be a case of who's ever last out the pits could be the ones with the best conditions and could get the best result in quali. So we'll see who will bite the bullet first and come out the pit lane. I think we've got one car making its way down the pit lane to the end of the queue. I can't quite see what car that was. Never mind, it was a Williams coming into its box. So nobody's decided to come out of the pit lane just yet. They're all waiting, I think, for someone else to pull the trigger. We've just had Stefano come into the pit lane. He's pulling into his box now. We'll see who's going to be the first to pull the trigger, but I think we're going to have about maybe half a minute where nobody goes and they wait until it's feasibly as late as possible that they can get out without having to rush to get to the line.
To be fair, this is the first time we've seen that all season where we're literally in the pits, don't see any drivers coming out, and yeah, you're right. It's been like that in real life as well when it was changeable conditions. They didn't want to go out until the final moment. And I remember who got a provisional P1 on that day. I think it was around Silverstone. Fernando Alonso. I think it was in the Alpine. So I think it's going to be Fernando Alonso vibes in that respect as well. Whilst we wait for the rest of qualifying to begin, we may as well have a cheeky plug of our sponsor, which is GT Omega. DRS is enabled then. So if I were them, people are starting to get ready. I was seeing a Mercedes getting ready to come out. I saw a Red Bull as well. But a quick word of our title sponsor, GT Omega. 5% off GT Omega products by using the code PSGL. Link in the description. And you can use also the command !GT Omega as well. And you can get lovely chairs from them like me and Aiden are sitting at right now. So who was the first man out on circuit? It was one of the Mercedes, I know that. No, it's not one of the Mercedes, it's one of the Red Bulls. Come on, I'm just trying to find out who it is. Oh, it's Volakongan. Volakongan, who Real LT ECTV is rooting for, and Matthias is rooting for Volakongan for pole as well. Anis is rooting for Frankie. NH Plays is rooting for Markados. Liam is rooting for Nando. Charlie's saying Max for pole. So quite a mixed bag at the moment. I'm going to get my predictions and I'm going to go for the boring choice and go Max for pole. But who do you think is going to get pole, Aidan?
Oh gosh, I'm going to commentate as Kirsten now. I think because it's such a pressure cooker this final round, it's going to depend on obviously being a clean lap and making sure you don't make any mistakes. I'm going to go Nemaya. I think Nemaya can hold on here. I think Nemaya's had good pace all season long. He's not quite been able to fight for a podium yet, but he's been in the top 5 for the majority of the races for so far this season. He's had good pace. I think Nemaya, I'm going to go for him for pole. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be an interesting end to the qualifying session. Volakongan first out. I think Volakongan's got the right idea here. He's the first out. There's a minute left in the session. Look at the queue of cars coming down the second part of the Mistral Straight. It looks like the map in the middle of a race. It looks like a DRS train. That's people that are going to have to separate themselves in this final sector. And this final sector is a long sector. I do think we're going to see a couple of drivers miss the start of this final lap, I do fear, because everybody is rushing to try and get a gap in this field. And you're going to have to space out at some point in this final sector because there's not a lot of time to do it. So Volakongan's across the line now. He starts his final run with only 35 seconds to go left in the session. Look at the queue in this final sector. I'm sure we're going to see people miss the line.
Yeah, I think so as well, because people are trying to have a gentleman's agreement. It reminds me of Monza 2020, where Nico Hulkenberg was holding people up as well, and half the people did not get to the line. But you pass turn 5 and 6, a long right-hander, which sometimes teaches you to apply just a little bit of throttle, but you don't really want to. Past turn 7 now, you can use your ERS to fall of that. On the approach to turn 8, you want to keep your car as far to the right as possible. Sits just after the 100-meter board, as a few two people have missed the line. That is Rowan and Harry, so they're going to be near the back unless people invalidate. But Volakongan's keeping his lap tidy so far. Heading towards turn 10, you're going to use the outside curve for a little bit before turning in, and then use a lot of inside curve while just missing the yellow bollard as well. Turn 11, one of the trickiest corners around Paul Ricard. Start by turning on the first apex whilst at full throttle. Turn 12 is also tricky. Start by drifting out very wide through here as Volakongan is going through as well. Trail braking, I have to say, is quite crucial around this track. He's using a lot of curb, by the way, and he's going to have some clean air. Another driver that could do well is one of the Aston Martins as well, who's also not in traffic trouble. As a few people have lost it in the middle sectors, that's going to be an issue. Volakongan then, what's it going to be? Provisional pole, but can anyone beat that? Stefano, he could get provisional pole times, could get quicker and quicker here. Kian's teammate, well, Kian goes on pole position at the moment. In the Haas, we've got one of the Mercedes up to the line. That's Margaret. I keep missing people because I'm trying to go on board. Then it's Fabi on pole. We're into the 129s now. We've got one of the Red Bulls, Marlon, who finished P2 last week. He's sitting in P4. For now, we got a lot of traffic in the final set as they go up the line. Aurelian in P2. Max, my pick for pole, is in P5. Nando, P6. We got Tom. Well, he's backed off in the pits. He was the one who binned, unfortunately. And it is Fabi, the man who said he likes this track. He's got himself on pole position, and he was the one who didn't caught up in traffic so much. So, to be honest, what he had to do was be one of, not the first to go out, but be the one in the middle to go out and not get caught up in traffic.
Yeah, you really did. You had to get out there a bit earlier than maybe you were potentially seeing. A lot of the people that were further down, the likes of the two McLarens. My pick for pole, Nemaya, ended up only 15th on the grid. That's because they were all in a queue at the start of the lap, and there was about 6 cars in a train, basically a DRS train, all doing their qualifying laps at the same time. And that's why we saw both Ferraris make mistakes on their runs, and the two drivers that never made it to the line in time were Harry and Rowan, the Williams and the AlphaTauri driver. They never made it to the line in time to start their final runs. So yeah, a lot of people leaving it too late at the end of that session. And the one driver we spoke about in the middle of the qualifying session, saying that they haven't had the strongest start that they've ever had to an F1 season, and we want to see a bit more of them. They've put it on pole. So
there we
lovely
go.
Stuff from Fabi. Yeah, lovely stuff from Fabi. And Aurelian as well, front row for the the rookie for this season as well. Good start for him, and Marco's up there in third. So, yeah, really interesting grid to start off this French Grand Prix.
Well, I have to say, the ones that we want to do are P1 and 2, so they can thank me later in the chat. So, there we go. We'll run through your order then at the moment, as the timer is not... There we go, the timer's come through now. So, we got Fabi in P1, Aurelian in P2, then we got Marcos and Marlon racking up P3 and 4. All German second row. Then we've got Max and Nando on the third row, Rick and Kian on the fourth row, Stefano and Dessa on the fifth row, Stefano and Frankie on the sixth row, Kazidon and Volakongo on the seventh, and we've got Namaya, Hiron, Harry, Tom, Rowan and Jez. The 4 drivers did not set a lap on the soft compounded tyres. And whilst we wait for the race to start, we'll have a quick word from our title sponsor, GT Omega. See you in 30 seconds, everybody. We just had a chaotic qualifying. It started off wet. We had Monza 2020 vibes when there was a lot of traffic in the middle sector. The ones not caught in traffic survived and did well. And we had a surprise pole position. It was Fabi that takes the 3rd pole position of the season. 3 different pole sitters. Absolutely crazy. My name is Jesper. We've got Aiden Carter alongside me. We are about to get underway, and there has been some few moments which we hope will not materialise today. First lap crash in the 1989 French Grand Prix, where you saw someone ending up upside down, which was Morcio Golderman, and hit the back of Thierry Boltz's Williams. So let's hope we don't see that. 1990, we almost saw a surprise winner with Ivan Capelli almost caused an upset, but Alan Prost overtook them both, the home favourite of course. But we are about to get underway then. 5 red lights here at Paul Ricard. We got a Mercedes on pole. When was the last time we saw that before? And we are underway here in PSGL PSF1. Fabi gets a good start. So does Aurelian. One of the McLarens get a good start as well. Marcados trying to get the better of Aurelian on the start and in towards turn 1. Turn 1 could get very, very messy. So these drivers have got to keep a close ear out as well. Bit of yellow flag. Some people have been caught up the background. Harry's gone off. Namaya's gone off. Tom has gone off as well. Stefano going down the inside of Deso then. Heading towards turn 5 and 6, but Deso tried to cut back as well with the Aston Martin. Deso losing a lot of ground at the moment, but the top 3 pretty much remain as they are. It's just the midfield that are making ground at the moment. Volakonga almost went off there. That was very, very close indeed. But Volakonga's up to top, but we got Kazizo trying to go from maybe towards turn 8. You could get a bit of slipstream if you want in the race, as Kazizo decides to fight back there with there being no DRS enabled to them as well. And everyone, unsurprisingly, is on the hard compounded tyres. We have one of the Aston Martins trying to overtake in the background. Now Stefano, he couldn't do it. One of the Ferraris, one of the favourites I thought was going to do well. Tom has binned it, so sorry, Tom.
Yeah, that is such a shame for Tom. We've got another yellow flag. That is Rowan in the AlphaTauri that spun through turn number 11, which is such a shame for the AlphaTauri driver who's had a rough start to the season as well. He's now down to 19th. By the way, I think Tom potentially had an incident with Harry, his Shizou teammate, at the first corner. Those two came to blows, and I think Namaya came to blows with the other Ferrari of Jensen potentially. So a little bit of chaos there for both Ferraris and both Williams on the opening lap of the race at the first corner. So not a great start for them, unfortunately. They've got some ground to make up. Tom's got damage as well, so he'll be into the pit lane. The only way his race will be salvaged from here is a safety car, but with it being Paul Ricard circuit, that is highly unlikely, and I think we may see him retire. Yes, we do. Tom has retired in the pit lane. That is such a shame. We were expecting so much of Tom this season. It's just not materialised so far. He's really struggled on this 22 game compared to previous games, so hopefully we see a bit more of him in the future, but at least so far this season, it's not gotten Tom's way. One team, though, that has gone their way so far in qualifying in the race, Mercedes, off to a great start. Like you mentioned, we haven't seen much of Mercedes in real life, but at the moment in PSGL F1, they're doing pretty well. Fabi leading from Aurelian, Marcados in third, and now the crucial part of this race is the ERS management. This track is so hard on ERS. If you burn your ERS, it is pretty much impossible to gain it back around this circuit. There's not that many, if any, heavy braking zones on this circuit. Most of the braking zones are fairly long and they kind of extend into the corner rather than before them. There's no hairpins as such apart from the final corner, which is already a slow entry. So if you burn your ERS really early, you're going to be done without it for the rest of the race. So we've got to keep an eye on who's saving their ERS in the early phases. And at the moment, the person with the least amount of ERS inside the top 10 is Aurelian in second.
Yeah, he's on 54%, whereas Fabi's on 17, Markados is on 65, and Marlon is on 65 as well. So a lot of people on the same amount, which is good, but like you were saying, if you use up a lot when you have DRS, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Fabi's in the best position. He can save all he wants because he is starting to pull away a little bit. And he's very, very glad that Markados is in P3 because you can kind of use Markados as a buffer for Markados to try and get past Aurelian for second place. Position gain on the opening lap then is as follows. Kian is up 1. He would want a strong result this time about after he had a spin last week. He had the pace last week, but he got very, very unlucky. Stefano up 2. Walla Congan up 2. I saw him making up a few places up the start. Jensen had a better race start than his teammate did. He's up 4. Heron is up 1 place. Namaya is down 2, and obviously Harry is down 1. Not major losses in this opening few laps of the French Grand Prix, which is great to see. But now with DRS activated, welcome on board to the DRS trains then, where we start to see people trying to get past, but they just can't do it, and it's all going to be about skill through here. We've seen people go through for moves on turn number 10 as well, and you can already start to see Markados trying to burn a lot of ERS to make sure to close in on Aurelian as well, whereas Fabi could just stay pretty at the moment. Nando, last week's podium sitter, he's currently sitting in 6th place, as someone's had a bit of an off in the background today.
Yeah, Deso tried to go for the move at turn 10 on the inside of Stefano, and Stefano turned in quite sharply on Deso there and kind of spun the Haas out. So Deso down to the back of the field from a top 10 spot. I think we didn't have any reports last week. I wouldn't be surprised if Deso reports that one. Deso had clear motor to be down the inside. He was alongside the card. Stefano just kind of turned in and shut the door on the Haas.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Deso, of course, but yeah, that's definitely going to be a sure report. If it wasn't, I'll be surprised. We have seen worse last week and it didn't get reported, but there we go. Aurelian has found brilliant straight line speed on the Mercedes heading towards turn number 1. I wonder if Fabi was using less DRS there, and he now realises that the Alpine is right behind him, and the Alpine is looking like he wants to win his home Grand Prix, same as Aurelian as well. A lot of drivers home Grand Prix here as well. A lot of Frenchies here, so they want to do well, upset the Dutch, upset the Brits here at their own game. As we got Aurelian then, this is his first opportunity to try and go for the move then. The man who got P3 in around number 1, who got Podium, down the inside before heading into the braking zone at turn 8. Nicely done. He had the DRS, Fabi didn't, and Aurelian is up into the lead of the French Grand Prix. Fabi's got another chance in the next lap or two to do so. And now, question is, could there be team orders between the two Mercedes, or will they choose to fight? We'll find out very, very shortly. But I have to say, Aurelian did a great job there to get past Fabi there. You can tell he had better straight line speed than the Mercedes. Yeah,
really good straight line speed there for Aurelian. Maybe sacrificed a little bit of quali pace for a better car in the race, and those wet conditions in the end of the session actually really helped Aurelian in qualifying. And yeah, great straight line speed. You really need it around a track like this, and going to be interesting. This is one of those tracks where the DRS is so powerful that it's actually hard to stay in second place because you can gain so much down the straights on the back of the car in front. Even on the second half of the Mistral straight after the chicane, you can gain so much just in the toes. So it's actually quite difficult to stay in second place when you're in a DRS train because you can gain so much straight line speed. As the first driver looking to struggle to keep up with the cars in front is actually Kian in P7. He's just dropped out of DRS range down the pit straight. I don't know if he can get back in this first sector. He's using up a bit of ERS to see if he can. But Kian's struggling a little bit to try and keep up with the top 6 here, which is a little bit surprising. He had the pace in the early round of the season, but it didn't quite materialise with spins in both of the first 2 rounds. But yeah, at the moment, maybe struggling a little bit in that P7. The DRS detection point is just before the straight. Kian's just going to get it, but Rick behind is also equally just as far back. So we're starting to see a little bit of a split at the bottom end of the top 10 in this train as people start to struggle. One person that isn't, though, is Fabi. He's coming back at Aurelian down the back straight, and Fabi is back into the lead. So I think we're going to see this quite a bit of a swap for the lead change here in the opening few laps before everything starts to split up when we get to the pit stop phase. I think we're going to see a lot of these moves happening down the Mistral straight. By the way, just having a look in the chat as well, we're seeing Hardy, last season's champion, asking if Kazizl has damage. Can't see anything on our end. I don't think it was involved in any incident on the opening lap. Just a rough qualifying for both McLarens being caught out at the end, so they're a little bit further down than we would expect. So nothing we can see from Kazizl's end. He seems to be keeping fine with the train so far, so not much of a worry, we'd say, on his end. Doesn't look too bad. As further down the field, Harry managed to get past his Williams teammate Namaya and up into 16th. So those are, even though they had their spins on the opening lap, both Williams have been able, and Rowan as well actually, have been able to recatch the DRS train at least. So their race is not over by any shot.
That shows that they have the pace even if they spin. So that is great to see that they can go on a comeback, and none of the drivers, I believe, had to pit since the very start, so it meant that the damage, if they did get the damage, was not that bad. Now, Keane was saying to me earlier on that he hasn't done much practice before yesterday, so that was probably why he struggled a bit more compared to other drivers. That was probably why that he is down in 7th place at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on that so far. And I think Aurelian a little bit further away from Fabi to get past soon. And there's not much ERS to use, but I would be surprised if Aurelian is going to go for the move anyway. Fabi could close the door here. Fabi closed the door, but we got Max, the two-time race winner from this season, gets past Marlon up into 4th place. He said the podium was on the cards for him. He didn't mind if he doesn't get the race win today. His goal is to be on the podium, and definitely he's one place away of doing that. And he's going to chase down the top 3. The race win is also still on the cards for him as well. As we got Aurelian, who's got under pressure from Marcos. Marcos was down the inside, and we could get the switch back from Aurelian down 10-12. They're going to go side by side. A very, very odd place to go side by side, but Marcos came out of nowhere to get past Aurelian up into 2nd. We got a Mercedes 1-2. Last time we saw that in real life was F1 2021 with Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, and we're seeing it in PSGL, PSF1. Incredible stuff. Aurelian really needs to fight back. I think he's struggling with his tyres because Max is now catching up to him.
Yeah, really smart move there actually from Marcos as well. All over the last 2 laps, he's been burning a little bit of ERS and putting the pressure on Aurelian to the point where Aurelian doesn't want to pass Fabi for the lead, but he then in turn can't defend 2nd place for Marcos because Marcos is all over the back of him. So really smart team play there actually from the 2 Mercedes cars. Marcos up into 2nd, and you've got to say, based on what we've seen for the first 2 rounds of the season, Marcos is well poised in this championship to be in the fight for the title. So if there is going to be any team games here, this could benefit Marcos massively if Fabi decides not to fight his teammate too hard, or Marcos might just sit behind his teammate for a while and save up the ERS he burnt in those laps trying to put the pressure on Aurelian. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do over the next laps. Max's overtake, by the way, on Marlon for 2 cars that were both in the DRS train. That looked incredibly easy for Max in a straight line. That Alfa Romeo looks very fast down the straight, so he is definitely going to be, again, as he was in the first 2 rounds, another one to watch. We've got a yellow flag at the back. Jensen spun at the same place as where his teammate spun earlier on as well. Don't think he's picked up any damage, but yeah, Ferrari are having a nightmare, and Jensen just spun the car again trying to get going. So yeah, Ferrari are having an absolute nightmare here tonight. A bit of a disaster race for them.
Ferrari near the bottom of the standings, of course. Haas in last with 3 points. Ferrari in 9th on 4 points. And Haas scoring a lot better tonight as well. So if Keane scores just a few more points, then that means Ferrari will be bottom of the standings after tonight. And Charlie putting in the chat, Ferrari having Spinalas. Well, that is true, not going to lie. Nothing to deny the fact right now as well. And I wonder, Fabi and Marcos, they're going to probably do a Silverstone and play the team game, except being at the front. I did say it could happen around here. I was hoping it would happen, and I think the vibes, the energy from my cab has probably been translated to the Mercedes cab at the moment, and Jensen has retired from the pit lane. So we have both Ferraris now out of the race, which is unsurprisingly. We got our first time penalty of the session, and that is Rowan. And one thing we forgot to mention from this French Grand Prix, this is an easy track to get track limits. Not as easy as in previous games, but it is easier than some other tracks to get track limit penalties. You can cut so many corners. The stewards are also keeping an eye on certain corners as well, including the pit lane. So we'll make sure to keep an eye on that, because we don't really want to cut the pit lane as well. And I think for Aurelian to get ahead of the 2 Mercedes, pretty much he's got to think about when to pit and maybe take advantage of it. Well, would he go for the undercut or would he go for the overcut? We'll have to find out soon as well. And he's got to think about a decision soon, because otherwise Max could be ahead of Aurelian in the pit stop. So Max is also going to play it safe as well. Namaya's also fallen out of the DRS train, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully he can fight back soon.
Yeah, just actually going to comment on Namaya. The reason why he stopped out of that train was because that's where Jensen was before he had his spin. So that's why there's that hole that's opened up between Namaya and Neuron at the moment. But Namaya has burnt all of his ERS trying to close that gap, and he hasn't quite been able to do so. So Namaya's kind of falling into a little bit of a pit at the moment and having no ERS and no straight line speed. So it's going to be even more difficult for him now to get back into this train. And yeah, it's going to be interesting now pit stop wise. I think we know that this track is hard on tyres, but what that does mean is that an undercut around this track is pretty powerful. So that could definitely play into the factor, but you don't want to go too early on the mediums. We know that the pace fall off in the mediums around a track like this is going to be pretty high. You don't want to cut the beam. You can see it. We see a lot of tracks throughout the season, tracks like Silverstone, where you can pit like maybe a lap before the halfway point for the medium compound tyres, and the mediums will get to the end just fine. This track is not one of those. If you're pitting lap 13 for a set of medium compound tyres, those mediums are going to be so slow at the end of the race, it's just not worth it. So it's a hard one to balance. I think for Aurelian, if he wants to hold on to that podium spot, I don't think he can take too much of a risk, can he? Because, I mean, he's in third at the moment. If he takes the risk, it could pay off, but more than likely not. He'll either lose out by the undercut or he'll lose out by going in too early and burning out his tyres. So I'm wondering if he's just going to sit and follow the Mercedes and follow at least one of the Mercedes into the pit lane, because of course they can't pit on the same lap. So one of the Mercedes potentially here is going to get hung out to dry. So Aurelian maybe follow one of the Mercs in, and we might see someone a bit further down the field that's struggling a bit to keep up with the train to maybe go in that little bit earlier and try the undercut. So if that is the case, I've definitely got my eye on Kian, because Kian does continue to struggle to keep up a little bit with this train in front. He is saving some ERS at the moment, is Kian, but he is teetering on the edge of about 8 or 9 tenths every lap behind Nando in front. So one slight mistake from Kian and he'll be out of DRS range, and we know what DRS is like around here. He'll plummet down the field very quickly if he loses DRS.
Yes, at least he's doing better than a previous race, of course, where he was just struggling to get into the points after that spin. But speaking of spins, Rick's had a bit of a moment in turn 2. And it spins a Rooney here at Paul Ricard, and he's another driver who was hoping to do well. Well, he's down in 80 position. He was hoping for points, and it's probably not going to happen. His main battle is really going to be Deso for P17, but I think he's going to be ahead of him anyway. But I've seen most of the spin so far this race, and it hasn't been damage. It's mainly just been a 360, and that's all good, as Max has had, oh my goodness, that was interesting. I just caught on the back of. There were so many battles happening in the space of a few laps, a few ghosty situations as well. Aurelian is struggling a lot. Nando down the inside of turn 10. Nando's up to 4th. Max is up to 3rd. Aurelian was caught off guard. Oh no! Max has got a 5-second penalty, corner cutting. Gained 1 place. I have to keep an eye on if it was legitimate or not, but Keon down the inside of Aurelian. I wonder if Aurelian's picked up damage, because everybody... Yeah, he has, because everyone is caught up to him. I wonder if Aurelian got tagged into the back of something. That was just chaos there.
I didn't see what happened. I just caught the end of that incident. I don't know if Aurelian went for a move on Marcados and spun off the side of the Mercedes and Max was in the wrong place at the wrong time, or if Max went for the move on Aurelian and spun Aurelian around. I didn't quite see what happened. Either way, Max has got 2 5-second penalties, because he's got the 5-second penalty for gaining the place off the track, and he's also got one for cutting the chicane in the first place. So that is going to be a hefty penalty in the pit lane, which will take him pretty much out of contention. That puts Nando now in 4th, which is well, with Max's penalty, if the top 3 can't get away and Nando can stay within range, Nando's going to jump onto the podium here for the 2nd race in a row. So Nando in a good position here now because of that incident. I didn't see what happened, but that is, either way, no matter what that incident is, as the Mercedes swap positions, perfect time, I think, for Marcados to take the lead away from Fabi now that they've got far less pressure from the train behind. The only driver behind them now is Max, and Max has a penalty to serve in the pit lane. So makes sense for the Mercedes now to switch places because they've got a buffer. But yeah, either way for Aurelian, if it's a spin off the side of Marcados and got damaged that sense, or whether he was hit by Max and that's where he got the damage from, either way, that is gut-wrenching for Aurelian, who was having such a good start to the race, running in P3, looking in shout for a podium, and now he's at the back of the field on the medium compound tyres. But, I mean, I mean, 17 laps on a set of medium compound tyres, they're not going to get to the end with that much pace at all. So I think Aurelian and Marlon, of course, who was also caught up in the aftermath of that, they're both pretty much out of contention for any decent points in this race, you would say.
Yeah, that is a bit of a shame, of course. Marlon is going to hope what happened last week, where there was a safety car that could have brought him back into this. And Maya might have got a bit of damage then, or if he's pitting early, we'll have to double check. We will check if it's a legitimate strategy or not. But I think Marcos and Fabi will probably keep switching positions to try and gain the DRS off each other. But you can see Matt is gaining on the pair of them as well. But I think this is not going to matter due to the 5-second penalties that he's got, which is now 10 seconds as well. And just a quick information from the chat, apparently. One for corner cutting and then the other for overtaking off the track and not giving it back. So it was an illegal overtake. So yeah, one will definitely not get removed, but I think the one could get removed, so we'll have to wait and see. Two Mercedes trying to block Max from getting anywhere. I have to say that was fantastic teamwork there as well. If you got to use the teamwork, you got to use it now, really, and the gap behind them is massive, so why not use that to your advantage at the moment? As Fabi is playing the Minister of Defence, well, the Ministry of Defence at the moment here in Paul Ricard, as Max goes down the inside in towards turn 11, down the right-hand side, still keeping his line very, very clean indeed. Fabi's going to take a much tighter line heading towards turn 12, but this time it does pay off. So Fabi just about holds on into second position, but Max will have the DRS on Fabi. Fabi will have the DRS on Marcos as well. So what will Marcos do in this situation? We'll have to wait and see. Stefano is on the back of Kian for 6th place right now. So this could be an intense battle for the next couple of laps. And then we also got a battle between Rick and Dessa as well, because Dessa has run out of DRS as well. So even though Max has got a penalty, and don't forget he's got a serve 1 in the pit lane, so he can't get that removed. At least he's still fighting for it. And Stefano is actually having a good race so far, isn't he? He didn't get caught up in the carnage. He's up to 4th and past Stefano. Not past Stefano. He's Stefano. He's past Nando.
Yeah, he's into a good position now, and if he does, of course, with that penalty being served for Max, that does mean, of course, that they're in the fight technically for the podium. Of course, Max is going to drop back into that pack again, and we don't know. He might not get that other 5 penalty removed. We don't know. So, especially if he did cause the incident, it's highly unlikely he'd get that removed. So, be interesting to see what happens with the rest of this one. But their fight there between Stefano and Nando is technically for a spot on the podium. So that is going to be a very interesting thing to watch. I'm just having a look, by the way, at Namaya's lap times to see whether that pit stop was a legitimate pit stop or whether it was for damage. And by the looks of the time loss, that looks like a genuine pit stop on strategy. So Namaya has gone very early for a set of medium compound tyres. Of course, Aurelian and Marlon's a lap older, but they had to come in because of their damage. So Namaya's gone very early for a very aggressive undercut. And where he was in the train, he could end up coming out of this in P4 all of a sudden. So you've got to keep an eye on Namaya here to see what he does. His only problem is he has absolutely no ERS at all. As into the pit lane comes Max. I think not a surprise for Max to come in a little bit earlier. I think he wants to come in, serve a 5-second penalty, get as far up the road as he possibly can, and try and not fall back into the train too much, so he can give himself that bit of that undercut to try and gap those behind that will pit a bit later than him.
Right, so around about lap 14 to 16, the pit window. The latest they could pit is around about lap 16. So Max is serving a penalty that he got from earlier on. So that was why it was a bit of a slow pit stop as well. Everyone else does not have a 5-second penalty to their name, so they will have a much cleaner pit stop. Don't forget the pit stops are manual on this game, so you've got to press a button to make sure you can get into your pit box. Kind of wish it was a bit more manual than that, but kind of wish that that's something that happened on this year's game. Fabi, though, gets past Marcos up into the lead of the race. Another lead change from the 2 Mercedes cars. Stefano stays ahead of Nando, so Stefano up into third position. We've got Aston Martin 4th and 5th at the moment, and that is great to see. At the moment, yellow flag, that is an AlphaTauri, that is Rowan. Shame, because he was having a good race, and now he's down to the back of the hard runners. So that spin through turn 8 just shows that the hards are getting a very bad tyre right now. If you've been on them for 13 laps, you've got to manage them to perfection. So, but with one of them, one of the Mercedes leading, they have to stay out, and the other has to go in the pits. They can't afford to go in the pits together because they're going to lose so much time. Oh no, we got our first speeding in the pit lane penalty. That is Stefano. He's got to lose a chunk of time as well at the end of the race. Marcos leads. Fabi is in. Then we got Stefano that's in. And we got Nando, Volakongan and Frankie. So they're going to be going on to a set of the medium compound tyres. We'll keep an eye on the Meyer then, but he's stuck in some traffic right now. So he's going to find it harder than everybody else to try and stay ahead of his rivals. There's a spin as Kazizel has had a bit of a moment. Kazizel's been thrown under the radar so far this race, and his race has continued to be from bad to worse. Nemaya trying to go side by side with the Haas car at the moment, and Nemaya is up to 11th place. But all that squabbling is allowing Fabi to stay pretty up front. Same as Stefano and Nando. Things pretty much stay as they are when the pit stop phases come. Meanwhile, Harry F and Neurone are having a nice battle up front as well. Up into a P3 on track for Harry anyway. It won't be a net P3 because they're still yet to pit. Because Zizzle, I believe, is ghosted, so he's probably left the session. So, yeah, that's probably why he's flying a bit under the radar, which is a bit of a shame. But Marcos Aiden, I'm expecting to pit this lap because we saw Fabi pit and it worked well. Marcos, I expect to see to do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely he's going to come into the pit lane now. He doesn't want to fall too far behind Fabi and back into the clutches of this train behind. So you'll definitely see Marcos in this lap to try and keep up with his teammate as much as possible. Fabi here in a really good position here, of course, because Stefano has that 5-second penalty for speeding, so he's not a factor in this race anymore. So really, at the moment, the next person is as OP Stefano. The other Stefano now gets a 5-second penalty in the for speeding in the pit lane as well. So a good result potentially for Aston Martin, gone out the window as a team with that mistake for Stefano as well. So that's a real shame. But out of all of this, all of a sudden, Kian's now in the pound seat to potentially pick up third place in this race. He's within, obviously, that 5 seconds to Stefano, even though he doesn't have DRS on the back of the McLaren at the moment. It's a fight at the moment between Kian and Nando. Of course, Max is in this fight, but we don't know if Max is going to get that penalty removed or not, and we don't know the state of that incident between himself and Aurelia. We don't know really what happened there as OP Stefano comes out of the pit lane right side by side with Nando, his teammate, and just ahead of Max. So that could be crucial here to see how Max gets past this Aston Martin. If he can, he's going to potentially have a move down towards turn number 3. He's going to go for the inside line on the Aston Martin. That's a tight spot to try and go for the move, but he gets the move done around the outside of 4, does he? He'll have the inside for 5, and he is through. Lovely move from Max, but Max really sideways on the exit of the corner. If he's lost DRS there, he has. He's lost DRS. He doesn't have a lot of ERS. I think that Max could be a sitting duck down the straight to Stefano behind. So here comes OP Stefano back in the Aston Martin down the straight, yet nothing Max can do. That Aston Martin's going to breeze back past the Max is down another position. So,
oh, there's side-by-side battle happening in the background as well. Aurelian and Frankie, and they made contact. Aurelian's lost a bit of his front wing as well, or lost a bit of his end plate, I'm not sure. That's allowing Kazizel to say thank you very much. I'm back at the party and going up to 12th place. Don't forget top 10 do score points at PSGL, so plenty of opportunities to not give up. So Aurelian's day has not going very well either after a very good qualifying, but a very poor, pretty much first half to his medium stint at least as well. There's just been a lot of squabbles at the moment. We saw that in F2 in PC on Thursday. I was watching it. There was just so many side-by-side battles. I think there was 5-6 cars battling for the lead at that one point. We're not going to get that crazy, I think, in F1 on PS, but you never know. Anything could happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. Deso is in then for his final stop, and I believe Rick is in as well. So everybody has done their required stop, and they're all on the medium compound tyres. That just gives me a great opportunity to go for your running order. Fabi still leads, but with a bigger gap than he once had before. 1.3 seconds, which shows he's warming up his tyres a lot better compared to Stefano. So as you were saying, Aidan, the undercut definitely proved to be the powerful one, as Fabi's showing that he could pull up a really nice gap. Same with Stefano in third. Stefano could be on for his best result of the season. I need to check what Steph's best result was this season. Well, he got a DNF in round 2 and he scored 0 points in Spain. So if he gets a P3, it'll be his first points of the season and his first podium of the season, but he's got a penalty. So Kian will be looking to be on the podium as well. Frankie could be on for a good result as well, because Izzle, with hardly any penalties, he could be on for a good result as well, as Marlon tries to go down the inside through 10, past Volakongan, as Volakongan's had a bit of an off actually. So I wonder if he was letting his teammate through or if he was struggling a little bit for grip in that corner. We shall see at the moment. Things are quieting down in Paul Ricard for the front anyway. But Fabi still doing a pretty decent job. But Fabi hasn't had a win in F1 for a long time. I don't think ever. Markados hasn't had a win in F1 at all. So 2 are looking to add into the history books here today. And wouldn't it be great for someone new to win in PSGL? At the moment, it's looking very, very likely.
Yeah, it's looking likely, isn't it? It's really good stuff, though, from both Mercedes. The best thing they can do now is Markados, who seems a little bit faster but has no ERS. I think the best thing Markados could do here is just stay with his teammate and not fight until they get to the end of the race. The last thing they want to do is fall back into the clutches of the train behind. So if they can keep this gap, Mercedes have got an easy 1-2 on their cards here. It's played beautifully into Mercedes' hands, this race has. So, yeah, brilliant stuff. Markados is back in DRS range now, so that's going to help him in his fight with his teammate. But either way, if either Mercedes wins, we've got a new winner on the card. So that would be great. And of course, Markados is right up there in the championship fight as well. And Max is not having that great of a race so far. And there's potentially penalties coming Max's way. We're not sure yet, of course. So definitely a lot to come from this race for stewards of reports. By the way, just to look back at that incident that happened at the Michal chicane on that previous lap. By the looks of things, I want to say that that was kind of mainly on Volakongen, that incident. Unfortunately, Volakongen ran straight into the back of Nemaya into the Michal chicane. They weren't fighting, they were running nose to tail. I think Nemaya was trying to back off a little bit because there was a fight going in front, and Volakongen just ran straight into the back of the Williams and spun him out. So Volakongen does have front wing damage, which is why he's backed off, and I think Aurelian potentially picked up damage in the aftermath for the second time in this race. So Aurelian, from a great start, is having an absolute nightmare of a French Grand Prix, unfortunately. So I think if there's potentially any penalties coming for that incident, most likely it'll be on Volakongen, which is a bit of a shame. Volakongen's had a rough start to the season, unfortunately, so hopefully he can bounce back from that. Another thing to note, by the way, as well for the rest of this race, Stefano's tyres are 1 lap newer than Kian's, as Rowan, I think, is going to retire in the pit lane, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With Stefano, with that 5-second penalty, he's gapping Kian and Nando at the moment. He's gapping that whole train at the front with Stefano. Stefano's not got a lot of ERS, but he has got slightly fresher tyres than Kian. Kian, again, doesn't look all that fast. He's in a good position, but he doesn't look particularly fast. So Stefano here could save himself a few places if he can get a bit further up the road. So definitely keep an eye out for Stefano. I think the podium's definitely out the window, barring any chaos, but there's still some points on the board potentially for the McLaren, as here comes Nando down the inside of Kian to take that net 3rd place away. And Nando, again, could be on for another podium here this week. So Nando's coming on song here. Further down, Nemaya's going to get back past Marlon in that fight for the last spot, the first spot outside of the points. Another person to keep an eye on at the end of this race as well is Harry, P10. All of a sudden, he had a spin at the first corner on the opening lap. He's now 10th, and he has the freshest set of medium compound tyres of anybody inside the top 10. So look maybe at Harry for a late race charge in this one.
I think he's turning into Marlon from last race, isn't he? He spin that one. He wanted to carnage to happen in front earlier on, and it did, and he avoided it, and that's why he's in the position where he is. And that is a point that you do not give up, and that's results like this happen. So Harry doing a splendid job, and he's in a great fight for Kazizel. Kazizel's another one to watch out for as well, because he was also near the back, and he's up to 9th. So these two, I won't be surprised if they work together, even though they're not in the same, obviously, constructor, even though they're in the same esports team as well. And obviously Stefano to keep an eye on, and Kian as well. So we've got 8 laps to go of this French Grand Prix. Anything can happen, of course, and we could see history being made. And as it stands, by the way, in the championship, with Aurelian being on 15 points, will be out the points, and Nando on 15 points as well. Nando will jump to 2nd in the championship. He won't be leading because with Matt having a really stellar gap between everybody else. There's hardly no way that everyone else is going to be leading the championship after tonight. So Matt will still lead the championship going into tonight. He'll still score points, Matt, I believe, unless people get more penalties. And so yeah, Nando will be on for another podium in a row and could be on for P2. So yellow flag, that is a house. That's Desso.
Oh.
No, that's Harry.
Harry.
Commentator's curse, Aiden. We jinxed him.
Yeah, we definitely did. I put the curse on him there. That is the same for Harry. Harry was another one who's had a bit of a rough start to the season, so it would have been nice to see him have a good race. But yeah, a lap later, after I was picking him up to have a late race charge, he spun out of contention, which is a real shame. And now it's really, at the moment, you've got to say the only person that could potentially get that 10th place now is Nemaya, because Nemaya's fighting Marlon and Jeroen for that final spot in the points, and both Jeroen and Marlon have penalties. So if Nemaya can hold on those old tyres, then he should get that final spot in the points. So that's one to keep an eye on for the rest of the race. But of course, De Meyer pitted very early, and unfortunately, because of the contacts he had with Volakongen, that early pit stop's not paid off, sadly, for De Meyer, which is a bit of a shame. Meanwhile, a bit further up, Max is now looking like he wants to start making moves back through the field. Of course, him and Stefano both on 5 seconds of penalties. So if Max's penalty is not removed, this is going to be full position. So he's going to try and get past Stefano as quickly as he can, if possible, because they're, of course, fighting for position at the end of this one, even with the penalty. So keep an eye on that one. But again, I'm going to note this as well. Nando got past Kian, and Kian doesn't look like he's going to get past Nando anytime soon. But Stefano is still pulling away from that train behind by a few tenths a lap. He is still gapping that train. So keep an eye out for that one, as here comes Max down the inside of Stefano. That Alfa Romeo, again, so fast in a straight line, even derating down the straight. Nothing Stefano can do. Max is up into 6th, but again, I think for anything left in this race, I think Max is pretty much out of contention, you've got to say.
Yes, it's a shame because of his expectations tonight. He said to me he wants to get on the podium. His race couldn't have gone any better last week. He got the pole, he got the win, and sometimes you can't afford to have bad races, but hopefully for Max, it's just a one-off day for him and he can come back strong, fighting very, very soon when we head to, obviously, round number 4 coming up in just a few short weeks. So I think Max will be getting some practice in for sure to make sure it doesn't happen again. As we're on lap 22, things are still holding very strong for the Mercedes team. Just an interesting fact, by the way, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, only drivers to win around this track in the hybrid era since Paul Ricard came to the hybrid era in 2018. And we've got 2 Mercedes right now, and what Lewis Hamilton was driving at that time, a Mercedes. So a common car for a driver to obviously win the race at, as Max, I think, could be the next person to potentially eye up on a move. He's got to get past Kian and Nando to try and close in on Stefano, because otherwise Stefano is going to pull the gap that he needs to gain the position that he needs. But we'll see if Max has the straight line speed, or will Kian hold with his DRS and ERS to manage to stay ahead. We'll have to wait and see. Heading towards turn number 8, clips that left curb and then moves to the right hand side and then aims to the left, and he doesn't get past, but he's very, very close through this straight of turn 9. And Charlie just raised an interesting point in the chat. He could keep his podium. It is tough. Stefano's got a 5 second, not a 3 second, so he needs to gain, I think, 1.8 seconds in about 6 laps in order to do so. It's going to be tough, but these guys keep squabbling. It could still happen, so Matt's going to hope he could get past these people ASAP.
Yeah, he's going to have to try. He's going to have to hope, isn't he? I think actually for Stefano, the best thing that he can hope for is actually Max gets in and amongst them and they start fighting. That's only going to hold that train up, and that will give Stefano the gap that he needs. But yeah, still needs to find 2 seconds to Stefano to hold onto that podium. So it's going to be a tall order for him, but considering that he's on his own with no ERS or no DRS help, Stefano's race pace is very strong. He is by about a 10th a lap closing in on the 2 Mercs, but again, the Mercs, you can tell at this point, are just consolidating a top 2 finish here. Stefano's doing a very good job in 3rd and has kind of sprung out of nowhere. Without that 5 second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, this would be a very, very good drive for Stefano today. But yeah, that 5 second penalty potentially is going to cost him big time. So yeah, the gap is 3.1 seconds now back to Nando. It is creeping up. I don't think there's enough laps left for him to just naturally get that gap. I think he's going to have to hope that the drivers behind start fighting. So he's got about 4 laps really left in this race for that to happen. So we'll keep an eye on it. As here comes Kian for a move on Nando down towards the Moustache chicane. He's going to go the long way round. Nando's going to give him just enough room. They're on side by side through the second part. There's a little bit of banging of wheels coming through the corner, but they get away with it, and Nando holds on to the 4th position for the time being. Kian, though, is going to burn more ERS down the second part of the straight. He's going to go to the inside line. Nando this time around decides not to defend against it, but he'll go the long way round. They make contact. Kian, wow, he somehow saved it. He kept it out of the wall, but just slight contact on the exit. I don't think really any blame can be put there. I think that's just hard racing. King kind of understeered into the side, sadly, and he's dropped back down the field and down into 9th places because this will get through. And for the 3rd race in a row, Kian, looking set for a podium, has made a mistake and he's dropped down the field again.
I think it's the Kian podium curse at the moment. It seems to bite when you least expect it. I thought it was going to happen tonight. I thought, you know what, he's going to get a podium tonight, but no, he just threw that mistake, unfortunately, and yeah, it's probably it's probably going to hurt him for many, many weeks now if he doesn't get that podium. And remember, Nico Hulkenberg in real life, he's in the house, by the way. He has not got a podium in Formula 1. So I wonder if Kian is channeling his inner Nico Hulkenberg. He's like, I want that podium and I want it now. But he just got to be patient. And at the moment, he is not patient. And all this is doing is allowing Stefano to stretch that gap even more. 3.4 is the gap. Oh, it's going to be tight. It's going to be Stefano versus Nando Stefano versus Nando for the podium. Max down the inside of Nando. And Max and Stefano could be fighting on for the podium positions here, if they at least expect it. And that could be a brilliant result for those two. A very great comeback, in fact. What about Harry trying to fight back at the back of the field? He's not having any luck either, trying to get past Rick. So these time penalties could mean a difference here. Let us know your predictions in chat on who you think could get the final podium spots here today due to penalties. And the gap is closing down on Stefano and Marcados, actually. 1.9 seconds. So it's either that Marcados is struggling or Stefano is really picking up the pace here.
I think Stefano's got good pace, but I think the Mercs know that they are under no threat of losing this 1-2, so they're not pushing it. You definitely got to say neither of them are really using any ERS. Stefano and Max directly behind both have penalties, so there's really nothing to worry about for them. So yeah, going to be an easy finish of the race here for the two Mercs. So it is a fight for the final spot on the podium. Max is just so fast, isn't he? He's on the older tyres, but he's managed to get into fourth and he's dropping Nando again straight away. But of course, we don't really know what Max's situation is going to be here, do we? Because that 5 seconds that he's got, we don't know if that's going to get removed. But even if that does get removed and he does get that final spot on the podium, we don't know if he was the cause of that incident with Aurelian earlier on. So he could still get a post-race penalty afterwards as well. So that's going to be something to keep an eye out on for the rest of this race, is whether Max does get it or whether he falls away.
Yes, and he'll get the podium if his 5-second penalty is removed anyway. But he's going to really fight if his life depend on it, to be honest. But you never know. He might have said, oh, I deserve that penalty. But we'll have to wait and see. But it just depends on which 5-second penalty you want to remove, because you got 2 in the space of a couple of corners. So anyway, but you know, anything could happen. Final 2 laps of this race. We got a battle for the last points paying position. We got Marlon versus the Might Harry F as well, fighting through turn 10. This could get very spicy indeed. Almost made contact, the two Williams drivers. And I have to say, even though it's for 12th and 11th position, they're still giving it everything they got so far. Desso's in the fight as well. So was Rick, trying to go around the inside of the both of them. Could it be a double overtake between the two of them? No, it's not. And Namai is able to pull away because of that. Same with Marlon. Marlon, don't forget, he's got a penalty, so he's going to hope that everyone will start to battle like crazy at the moment. As Rick and Desso going side by side at the start, finish straight. We'll see who's got the better straight line speed. Hardly any ERS from the pair of them. I think Desso has got more. He's got about 27% compared to Rick's 5%. So Desso up into 14th position in this race. I surely would have wanted higher at the moment. Gap between Stefano and Max, 3.1 seconds. What's the gap to Nando? It's around about 5. Battle change for the lead. Marcados and Fabi switch positions once again.
Yeah, they switched positions. I wonder if that's team orders or whether Fabi will fight that one back. We don't know. Of course, Marcados did get podium in the first round of the season, and if we're fair, Marcados is the likely of the two Mercs to get that fight in the championship. So don't know if that's going to be team orders or whether Fabi is just going to settle for second place. But either way, amazing race here for both of them. As there's contact further down the field, it seems Harry and Desso have come together at the chicane. Rick's been involved in that one as well. Namaya's managed to escape up the road, so has Marlon. So a little bit of carnage again down at the Mistral chicane. That's been a real hot spot tonight for incidents, hasn't it? It's been a bit of a mess, unfortunately, down at that chicane. So yeah, messy races has been. We had no stewards reports in Singapore. They're definitely making up for it tonight, aren't they? Because there's definitely been a few incidents that potentially going to have a look at after this one. But I just responded to a lot of people in the chat as well, saying that Max will get P3. There is definitely the potential. Marcados fastest up as well to add another point to his tally. There is definitely potential Max could get this P3 if he gets this 5-second penalty removed. But of course, it does, like Jess said, depend on which if either of the 5 seconds are worth getting removed. If he did cut the track and gain a place and didn't give it back, that 5-second penalty could still stand, so he could still keep that penalty, of course. and he did cut the chicane completely anyway, so stewards might decide to keep that. And of course, that was all in the middle of an incident with Aurelian, so he may still get a penalty afterwards for that incident with Aurelian, and they may keep the 5 seconds because of that. So it's hard to say, really, for Max. There's definitely the potential.
Battle for the lead, battle for the win here today is Fabi. Well, Marcos didn't challenge that much, did he? I thought he was going to challenge. I think it was just a little bit of weaving going on between the two of them at the moment. Or are they going to fight in the final corner? I don't know, but it looks like they're definitely in a party together, isn't it? There's no hard feelings at the moment. They didn't really fight for it. Fabi got pole position, Marcos and P2. I'm sure Marcos would have wanted that win. He would have kept it with both hands, but he doesn't seem to mind at the moment for getting P2. But to be fair, he didn't get pole position, so sure, losing the victory won't hurt because it's against his teammate. But past turn 12, Fabi and Marcos are going to be in close to town formation. They both driven absolutely amazing here today. These were the only 2 drivers who have never put a foot wrong, both of them in the final corner, and it is Fabi that takes his first victory of the season, his first victory in PSGL F1 for a long time, if not ever. Marcos in second, Nando in third, Frankie fourth, Stefano missed out on the podium because he was in sixth, Kian in seventh, Max in eighth, pending stewards reports, of course, Stefano ninth, and Hiron gets points, which is what he wanted, so congratulations to him. And then we have Namai, who just about gets P11 from Marlon. So, interesting race. I would have liked to have seen a bit of a fight between the Mercedes for the win, but I'm guessing they want to keep their reputation with Mercedes. They didn't want to cause too much incidents, and they're good friends on and off the track. So, understandable that they wanted to work together as a team rather than fight each other for the win, because otherwise they would lose a lot of time. But our second different race winner of the season, and it belongs to an F1 veteran of Fabi.
Yeah, lovely stuff from Fabi, and it's the first non-Max win of the season as well. So brilliant stuff from Fabi. Both Merc drivers did an incredible job today. I think it was just wrong place, wrong time, unfortunately, for Marcos to win that one. I think he went for the move too early on Fabi. If they were genuinely fighting for the win, I think he went for the move a lap too early because of how powerful DRS is. But either way, another podium to add to his tally for Marcos, another second place finish. Fabi's first win, of course, and another podium as well for Nando in third. So 2 drivers getting both their second podiums of the season. Really, really strong results. And if we are to take the results on face value and we don't see anybody getting their penalties removed, and this is going to be the genuine order, then not a great night for Max. Of course, that could change in the stewards' reports, but we don't know how that's going to look. So if we're to take it at face value, not a great night, unfortunately, for our championship leader, Max. And that's kind of the first crack in the armour we've seen for the Alfa Romeo so far.
Yeah, that is, I think, a driver that can buckle under pressure, which is a bit of a shame. We thought he's a man that could win every single race this season, and he hasn't, unfortunately, and sometimes the pressure just gets to him. And I have just been checking the previous standings, by the way. I had to make sure it was Fabi's first PSGL PSF1 win, and it was. So, yes, he's got his first top-tier victory. He's going to be celebrating about that, and I always like interviewing him when he's on the podium, because he's always generally a very nice guy when I interviewed him in F2. So I'm very excited for this one. But anyway, Fabi wins from his teammate Marcos in second, Nando third, then we got Frankie fourth, then we got Stefano, because it's all Kian, Max, Stefano who own your top 10. Namaya, Marlon, Rick, Deso, Harry, Aurelian, Volokong in your top 17, and your DNFs are all tied in the pit lane, Rowan, Jensen and Tom. No safety cars, which is always great to see, and it was a dry race, and will we see a different winner next time out? We'll have to wait and see, but I have to say, both driver of the days have got to be to the team Mercedes. They did not put a foot wrong.
Yeah, they were kind of the only ones, weren't they, that didn't put a foot wrong. They did a brilliant job in qualifying. They were out on the track at the right time at the end of the session, and then they made the most of it in the race. They picked their moves, and then when Aurelian and Max and all that came together up behind them, they just sailed off into the distance and never looked back. So, perfect result from both of them. Definitely, I think driver of the day has to go to Fabi, pole and the win. Really, really strong result for Fabi tonight, and it's great to see, isn't it? Such a veteran of PSF1 who's spent most of his time in F1 kind of mid-pack, and now it's his day in the sun as such. So it's a lovely result for Fabi to get that one as well. And great, of course, for Marquez. His confidence continues to grow. Of course, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about Marquez not being ready for the top division and potentially being moved back down. And look at him now; he's one of the front runners of the championship. So, yeah, really, really strong result from both Mercedes and Novas tonight. And again, another underrated, as I think underrated is the word to describe him so far over the past 2 seasons. But Nando again, he was really strong last season, getting the mid-points finishes. We said his next goal was to get a podium. He got that last week, and he's got his second one today. So another under the radar but amazing performance again from Nando.
I have to say, Fabi is definitely the people's champion, because there's a lot of people that are very happy that Fabi took the win there. Jensen in the chat was delighted for him, that's going to say. So we got some people in the interview room that want to speak to us, and who should we get in first? We've got both Mercedes drivers in the rating room. I was thinking we could get them both together, but I really want to hear from Marquez first. Actually, no, we got all 3 people in the podium interviews as well. Oh, we got someone from F3 now. We don't want to speak to an F3 driver, no way. Anyway, we will speak to our P3 man once again. Nando, can you hear us? Nando, can you hear us? Doesn't look like he can hear us at the moment, unless he can talk now. No, it doesn't look like Nando can hear us at the moment, so we will try and get our second place man in the interview room. Marquez, can you hear us?
Hopefully.
Yes, okay, I was worried it was going to be second time unlucky, but a Mercedes 1-2, congratulations. After that DNF last week, it was definitely redemption round for you as well. Were you planning to get the win today, or was it just about the result for the team?
Yeah, thanks, first of all. Yeah, Fabi deserves it more. He was a lot faster than me in the training. Yeah, he deserves more. We are together in a party in the race, so yes, it was all good. We have also a lot of luck in the race, but yeah, at the end we must race also.
I think relieved is probably one of the terms to talk about your race after seeing what happened behind you. Did you see what was happening between the likes of Max early on in the race with Aurelian as well? Did you see what happened, or were you just concentrating on the guy on Fabi in front?
No, I don't see anything about it. I only see that Max got 10 seconds penalty, and that was the only one thing that I see. But yeah, at the end, it's don't interest me yet. Yeah, I'm very, very happy for Fabi. His first win, and yeah, Masterclass die Allemann.
Yeah, it's nice to see someone genuinely happy for the win, because I thought you would have been like, oh, I'm gutted I didn't get the win, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it just shows the camaraderie that you definitely had, because you have been teammates for quite a bit for the last few seasons. On the final lap, did you try to go for the victory? Did you try to go for the victory on the final lap, or were you not bothered that Fabi passed you?
No. That was because Fabi and myself was in a party. So we talked together that I go at lap 26 for the fastest lap, and then
Clever.
I let Fabi pass and lap 27. So yeah, perfect teamwork. Most points, 28 points. So. Yeah,
that's going to be good for the constructors, I have to say. I'll have a look at the Constructors' Championship. You're currently sitting in third place on 18 points. And obviously, apart from Aston Martin, have done quite well. You're pretty much going to outscore Alfa Romeo in terms of constructors so far as well. What is your goal now in the standings? Because you obviously got the teams to think about as well, but you're going to jump up quite a bit in the drivers now. Is a drivers' championship your aim? Considering that the last few seasons, the first season in F1, people doubted you, but after the last few seasons, do you think you can challenge the likes of Max for the title?
My main goal is at the moment my first win. So
After tonight, you'll get there.
yeah, but yeah, is it not Fabi? Then maybe it worked today. But yeah, my first win is at the moment my goal. So we will see in the next races. Austria is okay, but Austria can drive everyone. So yeah, we will see. And yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I think he kind of nicked the answer to Aiden's possible question there.
That was one of the questions. That was one of the questions I was going to ask. I actually going to ask another question. Actually.
Oh, good. I'll let you answer that.
Well, congratulations, Barcados, on another second place finish. Speaking of that first win, obviously you mentioned Austria is a track that we know a lot of people are going to be pretty decent at. What do you think is your most likely option for your first win of the remaining tracks, if you know them, if you know the rest of the calendar, of course?
So I think Austria, but you must nailing the quali lap on this track. So yeah, we will see. Also Baku is okay with
wow.
training. It's okay, and then maybe Hungary. So yeah, we will see at the end of the season. If it's not, so that's okay. But yeah, hopefully it comes at the end of the season.
Yeah, hopefully it comes to you. And yeah, congratulations on another great finish tonight.
Yeah, can Fabi and myself get together in the room here?
Well, I was going to get Nando up next, but since Nando was struggling to get into the party, we may as well get Fabi in with you for your request. So, with Marcados' request, we also got Fabi in the box this week's race winner. Perfect teamwork, if I do say myself. Timed the strategy to perfection in qualifying by getting the win, and then you nailed it on pole. Sorry, then you got the win here today. Your first win in the top tier. How does it feel?
Just hello.
Hi.
I'm feeling extremely happy. I was in the last couple of days. I was feeling very comfortable here around Lake Castellet, and in qualifying nailed the lap when it matters, and in the race was just managing after the incident with Aiden and Max, and yeah. We managed it 1-2. Happy for Marcados, happy for myself. I think it couldn't be better.
Yes, I think you were one of the only drivers out of everyone that I spoke to today in terms of the questions who actually met their expectations, and probably exceeded it. So let me read your expectations of France. I said, what do you think of France and what are your expectations? You said, I'm feeling very comfortable around France. Maybe I can achieve a top 5 finish. Well, the first part was definitely correct. You definitely seemed comfortable around France. Top 5 finish, you were pulling a Max all of a sudden. You said top 5 finish and you end up getting the win. So there you go. To be fair, you seem to be strong around France in any game. What made you like the track compared to other tracks on the calendar?
It's hard to say why I'm liking this track more, like maybe Baku or something like that. It just feels great for me, and I know how to take the corners and when to accelerate. It's I think it's Le Fabi or something.
And whilst we have Marcados in the party, Fabi, how fun was it to communicate with Marcados during that race and have some battles? I can tell you were working together as a team there. How good was it to use your teamwork to pull off that 1-2 today?
Yeah, like I said, for the pit stop window when Max had an incident with Aurelian, we knew that Max must serve for 5 seconds during the pit stop, and then we knew the gap is so big to P4. This 1-2 we can only beat us by ourselves, and yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. And Aidan, I'll let you answer the next question. Ask the next question.
Well, congratulations, Fabi. Nice to speak to you again. It's been a while since we've spoken in this podium celebration. But yeah, congratulations on your first win in PSF1. I guess going forwards, obviously, it seems you and Marco work really well as a team, and obviously you had a bit of fun today as well. It was a really great race for you. I guess for you, is the manufacturers a real goal for you as a team, or is it solely focused on drivers for you now?
We are going to we're still going to drive like the team.
Yeah.
I think in the past I managed to defend other drivers off for marketers to get better positions for different reasons, and the other way around he would do also the same. And yeah, let's see the next few races, and we hope we can get best team results as possible.
Yeah, fingers crossed, and it's great to see teammates that can work together and give back once they've put in as well. It's great to see that return in favour. And speaking
I've got one more question to ask after you, by the way. Sorry.
Okay. I was going to say the next question for me then. So speaking of future races, of course we've mentioned it already, but the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg is next for the calendar. How do you feel about Austria? Is it a track you think you can succeed at?
It's going to be hard. Here are the 20 best PS drivers, in my opinion, currently, and Austria is such a short track. Any tiny mistakes can cost you in qualifying like 5 or 10 positions.
Yeah, definitely can, of course. And you benefited from chaos tonight. So, and Austria does tend to bring chaos. So, hopefully, for your sake, it may come back to bite some of these drivers in Austria, and you can benefit from that again. But yeah, that's it for me. So I'll pass back to you, Jess.
Yeah, I got one more question. Now you obviously got the win in France. Marcos is still yet to get his first ever win in PSF1. Would you, if there's a race where you're in the same position again, would you return the favour or would you fight for it? That is my question.
I would return the favor.
Hey, that's a nice answer. I like that.
He just did a great job for me, and of course I will give paid back for him.
Probably the best teammates I think I've seen in PSF1 this season, I have to say. Marcos, you heard that. Fabi's going to help you if you're near the same positions again. Does that increase your chances a little bit?
Hopefully, yeah. But normally I'm the quali merchant from us too. But yeah, we will see.
Yeah, but if it gets to that situation, yeah. Fabi will definitely help you. That's very nice. I can see you get along very well, and I'll let you both go. Massive congratulations to both of you, P1 and P2, and I believe you'll be P2 in the constructors after tonight. So well done. I'll let you go and celebrate with your champagne.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Bye.
Yeah, cheers. We may as well try and get Nando in again, hopefully. For the final time, lucky. Nando, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hey, okay, Nando, finally. We were going to interview you next, but Marcos was very keen to get his teammate in, but Nando, you said getting a podium was a dream last week of your next goal, and guess what? You got another one today. You must be on a roll.
Yeah. It wasn't expected, to be honest, because I was nowhere 1 hour before the race. I tried a lot of things on the setup. I was not the fastest today, but I managed quite well the tires, ERS, and all those things. And yeah, surprisingly, we are on the podium. That's quite amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing as well. Now, you were the one that experienced that carnage as well happen through your very eyes as well. We didn't see much of what happened because we just about caught the aftermath as well. So you saw Matson already fighting and a lot of people struggling behind you. Were you a bit scared, and what did you need to do to make sure you try and avoid that as much as you could?
I was really patient with all the drivers around me. As I said, I was not the fastest today. I was just hoping for some points, some good points. And starting P6, that as well was not expected. And after that, I was just managing my pace. And if the guy behind wanted to pass me, he can. No problems at all. But yeah, I was just avoiding all those things in front between Aurelien and Max. And yeah, the only thing I'm just a bit, I don't know how to say. I'm searching my words.
Disappointed?
Exactly, disappointed that just because I lose the train when Max and Aurelien has crashed. That's the thing. It was really difficult after this because I was struggling a lot, and people behind me saw that and they pushed me a lot. That's the game, but surprise podium, really surprising podium.
Sometimes surprise podiums are the best podiums. I've experienced those myself as well. So with that podium then, that pushes you way up the standings. I don't know what that is in relation to Markados, but I know you two will be, I think, quite close together on points, but you'll definitely jump already, which is good news as well. And speaking of the remaining, I'll let Aiden talk about the next track in a minute, but speaking about the remaining tracks, the next stage for you, I think, is the race win. What track out of the remaining tracks do you think you're going to potentially want to aim for your first win here in PSF1?
I'm gonna see the calendar again.
Right,
Oh my god.
you don't have to have an answer if you don't want to.
My best chance, I think.
Portugal,
Wow.
Portugal.
Portugal, yeah, Portugal, maybe Brazil, but Azerbaijan really difficult for me. China never do a race on this game. Yeah, maybe Mexico. Austria, I need to work on it. It's not possible as well, but not ideal again. But I think maybe Mexico should be a great target for me.
So round number 7, halfway, or pretty much halfway through the season. I think that's a good target for you, I think. I'm going to write that down in my notes, by the way. So if you don't get the win, you'll be in trouble. Joking. Anyway, Aiden, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, congratulations on another podium, Nando. I guess now that you're, I think if I'm not mistaken, you will be in third in the standings again next week, but only 1 point behind Markados going into next week, so it'll be fairly close. How are you feeling about the rest of the championship going forwards? Do you think that the title is something you can fight for, or are you just trying to solidify as high up as you possibly can?
The title, it will be difficult because I don't think I have the pace, the best pace to do it. But we never know. It's a long championship. But yeah, the objective is clear, is to be the highest as possible. That's quite a good start of the season. P3 is really, really good. Now, if I'm honest with you, I think the podium or nothing. If the title is possible, of course I will do everything I can. But we will see on the next races what will happen, and we will see.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. Of course, with Max not having the best race tonight, you are firmly in the fight still. So that's at least a positive as well. You can take away that even if it's not quite on the cards yet, you're still in the fight, which is good to see. And speaking of the fight, we've got another round coming up next. Of course, round 4, round the Red Bull Ring. You briefly mentioned it's maybe a track you maybe need to do a bit of work on. Is it a track that you think you can maybe benefit from another situation like today, maybe where you could get a surprise podium, or is it one where you think you're going to struggle a little bit more?
No, I think it will be easier for me because Paul Ricard is a really difficult track, especially the last sector. I was struggling a lot on it, but yeah, Austria it's an easy track to learn, to be fast on it. But yeah, I know it will be a lot of fights in front and behind. Maybe I will start in front. We never know. But we have to avoid those contacts and those fights But we will see. I will take care of my race and my pace, and we will see what happens.
Yeah, that's definitely the smart thing to do, especially as at tracks like Austria, of course. I mean, you benefited from that state of mind today. So hopefully we can see you again on the podium next time out. Congratulations, Nando.
Thank you.
And that is all the podium interviews for the second week in a row. We've had all three drivers in the podium interviews. So, yeah, that's great to hear. Congratulations to our top three, of course. And the next track that we're going to be going to, as everyone was alluding to earlier, Austria I'm trying to look at dates because I know there's a break week in some of the tiers. I need to check if it's in our tiers as well. Yes, it is, due to the fact there is Jeddah next week in real life for the Sunday tiers, so it makes sense if all the PS tiers are together. So we have a break week next week, but Austria, I know it's a short track, but it doesn't make it look easy because it's a quite close qualifying. More carnage can happen than what we saw in Austria, and I think it's going to take, a lot of guts and skill to actually win this one, because I think it's going to be the closest qualifying I think we've seen this season so far.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of deceiving how difficult Austria is, isn't it? Because there's only, 7 actual corners on the circuit. You've got to say at least 3 of them are easy flat-out corners. So on paper, it looks like an easy circuit, but because the field is usually so tightly packed in Austria, it does make the racing incredibly close. And it's the kind of track, like you mentioned, in qualifying is going to be really close. It's the kind of track where if you do struggle a little bit in quali or you make a slight mistake, you're going to lose out big time in qualifying in the grid spots in Austria. So it's not like other tracks, maybe like today, where if you do make a slight mistake in quali, you're not going to suffer as much because the track's more difficult and there's a bit more widespread in the field. So yeah, Austria's going to be an interesting one. I think if the racing today was anything to go by, I think we're in for a bit of a corker next time out in Austria, because I was kind of expecting today to be quite calm because of what the Paul Ricard circuit is like, and I was expecting Singapore to be chaotic, and we had the complete opposite. Singapore was fairly tame and today was quite chaotic. So yeah, we never know. We'll go to Austria and it will probably be the most boring race we've ever had. We never know. It'll be an interesting one, but either way, Austria is going to be very interesting race-wise. So yeah, looking forward to it. And I think potentially because of what we've seen from Austria in the past, I would not be surprised if we get another new winner. So we'll have to wait and see.
I really do hope we have another new race winner, because I think that will spice up the championship even more. So that is it then for PSF1. Thank you so much for watching. We are done for the next 2 weeks. We'll be back on the 27th of March for the Austrian Grand Prix. I need to double check. I believe PCF1 is racing still this week, but I'll need to double check that it's on Wednesday. And then obviously we've got the lower PS tiers in a couple of weeks' time, and then it'll be us on the 27th. Make sure you check out our title sponsor again, GT Omega, by getting 5% off GT Omega products by using the code PSGL. And also check out our Grid Rival League. Link is on the Discord, where you can predict F1 2023 Fantasy League as well, just in time for Jeddah as well. So make sure you check those out. Follow us on Twitter as well, at PremierSimGL. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well, all that good stuff. Have a good evening. We will see you in just under 2 weeks for the Austrian Grand Prix. I'm very excited for this one. But until then, stay safe and have a good evening. Goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by proudly supporting PSGL.